Welcome to Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews. Today, I am so happy to be talking with Joy Ann Ribar. Hi, Joy.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Joy writes the Deep Lakes Cozy Mystery Series, which features Frankie Champagne. Frankie is a baker, a winemaker, and an investigative reporter who, armed with delicious baked goods and bottles of vino, tracks suspects and of course solves crimes in the Deep Lakes, which is a small town in central Wisconsin. Joy has taught high school and college English for more than 20 years. Her short fiction, The Bee Servant, received an honorable mention at the WWA Wisconsin Writers Association contest in 2020. And then her story, Bird Envy, which is a nonfiction essay, received third place in the WWA Jade Ring contest in 2021. She's also a co-founder of the Blackbird Writers. Welcome.
Thank you. Wow, that's a lot. That's quite the introduction.
Well, look at you. Look at you. You're killing it. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Today, we're going to be discussing your November release, which is the Medusa Murders.
Yes.
And this is a departure from your Deep Lakes series, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. It's fun to write something new. I wanted to. I think to grow as a writer, you have to challenge yourself. I like change. I like a variety of genres and a variety of writing. So um, I thought, I would like to start a new series. I was thinking about how much I actually missed teaching literature and mythology in the classroom, because I semi-retired, I fully retired in 2020. So I thought, well, maybe there's a way that I can bring literature into a new series. And so I came up with a character um, who could teach literature, and she's a literature professor. And I thought, well, she could solve mysteries, or she could somehow be immersed in mysteries, and maybe all of those mysteries could be centered around different literary themes and literary genres. So um, the series was born, and her name is Bae Browning. That's the name of the new series. And the Medusa Murders, of course, centers chiefly around mythology. But I have 3 more books outlined that will feature around different types of literature.
Oh, that's so cool. So what exactly was your inspiration for that particular, for the Medusa Murders?
Yeah, well, I absolutely love teaching mythology, and I had so many students who joined that class over the years, and they still occasionally send me notes about on social media about how much they loved the mythology class. And it's, I've liked mythology ever since I was a kid. So I just really, so I thought, well, that's going to be where I'm going to start. Mythology is just loaded with symbolism and iconic stories and iconic characters. And I just thought it would be a really fun place to start, and maybe a really interesting yet quirky idea for a murder mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really love the paranormal part of this too. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
Professor L.L. Browning, aka Bae, aka Lullaby, to her sister. Let's talk a little bit about her dirty laundry and maybe some of her dry cleaning.
That's great. Yeah, so she goes by LL as her professional name. she has a little bit of imposter syndrome, which is something that I think a lot of people in power positions and authors and anybody who's out there in the public eye can probably relate to. She's only 30 years old, and she was a pretty precocious child. She was raised she traveled around a lot with her parents, and so she went to school via tutors, and she ended up going to college early. She gets a PhD very early in her life, and she lands this position as the head of the department at her college. And it's intimidating. Everyone's older than she is. She's in charge of people older than her. So she's trying to overcome not only her imposter syndrome, and she does it by she can be a little sharp with people on occasion. And I think she's trying to find her way. Where does she fit into this college? And she's somewhat of a workaholic. She's a teacher. She teaches literature, so she's constantly reading and grading, and she's kind of an introverted person. And then on top of that, she lost her mom in her childhood. She has this memory gap of a couple of years in her childhood that she's trying to reconcile. She just can't put the pieces back together. So all of that really plays a big part into this first book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as we're getting to know her, where would you say, where is the college located?
Yeah, it's located in a small town medium-sized town outside of Madison called Prairie Ridge, which may or may not resemble Sun Prairie.
Okay. Okay.
But it's not. But again, I wanted to keep it fictional.
Right.
I wanted it close to Madison, but it's a private college. It's not a big
Like the
university.
university.
It's a
Yeah.
smaller private college.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so to start the mystery, there's an issue of her dry cleaning.
Oh, her dry cleaning. Yes. I mean, the whole mystery starts with a dry cleaning mix up. When she goes to pick up she has this coveted piece of clothing that is the Lululemon brand, and she loves this very dressy raincoat. She purchased it as a congratulations to me for becoming a college professor and kind of a statement piece. And when she goes to pick it up, she discovers that it hasn't been cleaned. And the only way she knows that is because the police come calling. They want to look at her dry cleaning. And she finds out that hers has been swapped with a murder victim. Mm-hmm. And that's how she enters into this whole idea of like, why does this murder victim have my coat and why do I have her coat? Yeah. And that starts the whole ball rolling, where she eventually becomes immersed in the investigation, not because she's a nosy amateur sleuth or even wants to be, but because she's a target of the murderer.
Right, exactly. And I like that twist, that she's not, the nosy somebody, from a small town. Oh, I want to see if I can figure this out, but she's actually maybe, in danger.
Yes. Yes. And she's worried her family might be in danger. I mean, her father lives in the same apartment building. Her sister, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, lives with her.
Yeah.
Has just moved back in with her. So, yeah, so she's concerned, like, who is this person after and why? Right. Why? What is it about me that puts me on this killer's list?
Right. So Cassandra, her sister, shows up very unexpectedly, and so let's talk about her a little bit.
Yeah, Cassandra shows up fresh from prison. She's an icon. She specializes in grifting. She was good enough at it for a long enough time, but then eventually gets caught. She serves some time in prison. She's out on parole. She has to live with a responsible individual. And so she shows up at her sister's door, at Bay's door. In childhood, Bay and Cass were very close. They were inseparable. but after their mother passed away, things changed dramatically, and Cass started getting into trouble. Then she started perfecting the art of the con, and she kind of came in and out of Bay's life during her teenage years until she finally disappeared completely. So they've been estranged for quite some time, and so Bay just doesn't think he can trust her. And Cass is much more of an open person. She's a come as you are. She's a risk taker. She's a lot of things that Bay is not. Bay is very much a perfectionist. She's super organized. She likes order. And Cass maybe represents a little bit of chaos.
So, just a little bit, yeah.
Because
like she was in prison, you know.
Right. And so now Bay has to almost become the older sister. She's like, I have to be the responsible adult, and I have to keep tabs on my sister, and can I do this? And then there's a murder in our life, and and Bay just wants to get ready for the new semester of college.
Yeah.
Like to play it safe.
But Cassandra has a little bit of something special going on too. And so she has like a paranormal ability.
Yeah,
right? She feels like she senses what people are about, right?
She can. Anytime she has some kind of physical contact with someone, she either gets images, or she gets some sort of, can tap into the emotions, sometimes into things that they're thinking that they're maybe trying to hide from the world, and she somehow can tap into those things. Yeah, that is her gift.
That's interesting. And they're being sisters, we find out a little bit that Bay might have some of those, a little bit of that mildly too. But she doesn't realize it yet.
Bay thinks, Bay thinks she's been left out of okay, her mother, their mother, her and Cass's mother, their aunt Venus, who was pretty instrumental in raising them, and even their grandmother, going back a generation, all had some sort of extraordinary kind of gifts about them. Charms or extrasensory perception. And Bay feels like, well, I must just be my father's daughter, I totally missed out. But Cass says, oh, don't underestimate the power of her mother's last name was Charming. Don't underestimate the power of the charming women. You may have something yet. So it is something that is maybe in the works that she'll continue to discover as the series progresses.
Yeah. So with this like little bit of paranormal flavoring, are you're calling this a paranormal mystery or an edgy cozy?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time pegging where this mystery is going to go. It is somewhat traditional. If you go back and look at what were considered traditional mysteries, if you go all the way back to Agatha Christie, I think there's elements of cozy in it. I think that I really hope that people will relate to the characters, and of course there's humor in it. So it's certainly not a thriller. Even though the Medusa kills more than one person, it's lacking any kind of gore. There's no real blood and guts in it, and so it's definitely edgy, and I like that it deals with more than just kind of surface level, than maybe surface level issues. I think it deals with family and relationships, and how do you repair those once they're broken, and it also deals with a family secret that becomes an important part of the plot too. So yeah, a couple of other people who wrote reviews already said they called it a paranormal cozy. And I the only thing that worries me about that is I don't think the paranormal part is something that carries through every single solitary aspect of the book. So I don't think it's driven by the paranormal aspects. I think I think it has paranormal flavor, and that paranormal, um, and the paranormal parts of it are certainly important to the plot,
Right.
and
But
they
it's
will
not,
continue to be.
yeah, it's just not in your face magic or,
Right,
psychic stuff.
right.
Yeah.
I don't like to lead readers astray, and I don't want someone to think, oh, this is like, I mean, I've seen some of the lovely books out there that are very much immersed in magic or witchcraft or all of those things or psychic abilities, and I just don't want people to think that that's the main course of the book. It's more of an appetizer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Great to know, and good for readers to know going into it too. Not to be expecting, a full course of magic. Yeah.
Right, right.
So, and there's also a little bit of a relationship growing between Bay and Detective Bryce Browning. That was cute. They were so cute.
Thanks. I really wanted to leave that very open-ended and very questionable because it's a series for starters. They have respect for each other, but they also have, I mean, there's this tension there, and you can see it. And they have a lot of witty back and forth, very funny little verbal sparring going on
It's
that
sexual
I really,
tension.
yeah, and some
Yes.
sexual tension. Yep, yep. She doesn't want to admit that, possibly to
Right.
anybody, not maybe even not to herself, but yeah, it's there. It's
Yep.
there. And so you can only imagine that they're going to have to be paired together in future mysteries,
For
and they
sure.
will be.
Oh yeah. Good.
They will be.
Okay. Good. So can you share the cover of this book? It's coming out in November, and this
I think
interview goes
so.
live mid-October. So
Yes. Okay. Let me see. So how do I do that?
just hit share your screen
Oh, there it is.
and
Okay.
click
There.
on that page. Yeah. And it should come up.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great
Is it showing
picture.
okay? Okay. Yes. I'm actually I took this from I'm going to be doing a tour with an organization called Partners in Crime, and they actually created this, and I really like it. So I thought it's a good one to share because it really shows off the cover pretty well, and you get it in triplicate if you want.
Yeah,
um,
no, that's great. I
yeah.
love it.
And I have a fantastic cover designer. She is just amazing. This was totally her vision for the book. And as soon as she shared it with me the first time and said, "This is just a rough idea," I said, "No,
I'll take
it's
it.
perfect." Yeah, yeah, it's perfect. It's
I
perfect.
love it. I love the color scheme. It's really, really great. And it
I do
defines it,
too.
it totally defines it as not a cozy.
Yes, I think so too. But yet, but definitely mysterious, I hope. Also, I'm hoping that it will appeal to a different kind of audience, and I mean, I love my Frankie Champagne audience. Oh my gosh, I have great readers, but I'm also hoping that I can cast a little wider net. Um, and 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 that was one of the reasons why I also wanted to craft Bay and Cass. They're a little younger than my other main characters that I have in the Deep Lake series. I just wanted it to be different.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So if you don't mind stopping your share
Nope,
and then,
don't mind at all. Okay.
yeah. And because I
Thanks.
wanted to
Thanks for
talk
letting me
about,
share that.
you are doing so much for with your writing career and everything. You're currently living in an RV. You're independently publishing all your books and writing a new series on top of that. And so some people might say that you're living the dream, right? And so how's that going? I mean, how do you manage your time?
Oh boy. Uh, I think I manage my time the way any other independent authors manage their time. You know, we all have to juggle, and then we have to shift priorities when things come up. If it for us, if it's a travel day, then my priority is focusing on how do we get from point A to point B. But I have a lot of time here. You know, we're in a small space, and my husband's not retired. Things could definitely change once he decides to retire, because then we're going to want to play more and work less. And so it'll be a lot more challenging. The only challenge really on the road is just having really good internet. We have a lot of internet sources with us. We have a Starlink, we have hotspots, but even then you can have internet failures. It does
Yes.
happen. So
Yeah.
but yeah. So but otherwise, you know, I think Tracy, that everybody who's an author today, even if they're not an indie author, is juggling a lot, because authors today are really expected to step up and do so much of their own marketing and put themselves out there and be guest bloggers and podcast and on podcasts and do, you know, interviews here and there and show up at appearances. And so you're always trying to find, like, you're always chasing something, like,
Yeah.
okay, so now what's the next thing I'm going to do for marketing? And I mean, you know that yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I do.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and then trying to fit in writing that next book, you know, so
Right, right. And right, and the focus. I mean, you know, we're constantly adrift, I feel like, because we're switching our focus switches all the time as we go,
yeah.
as we talk about the things we've written, and then we're writing new things, and then we're marketing, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. And you really
it's
have to
all a lot
be
of work.
a creative business person, you
You
know?
do, you do, and I think you have to network. You
Yeah.
just you It's such an isolated profession if you don't go out there and find organizations to join and people to connect with, and they're out there. I think
They are.
authors are some of the nicest people about
Yeah.
sharing their knowledge and expertise and connections. Like, oh, I know this person who is a designer. I know this person who's a publicist. I mean, how
Yeah.
awesome that
I
that
know.
yeah,
I have
it's
totally
a
found
gracious
my
profession.
yeah. I mean, I've totally found my tribe with mystery writers because, you know, everybody is so kind, you know, even though we're killing people behind the scenes.
Yeah, we are definitely split personality people. I love it. Isn't it fun?
It is fun. Do you, you know, we know that the publishing industry is changing like every single day, every minute, practically. But what
Yeah.
advice would you give to authors who want to maybe get their rights back? This is more of a specific question, but you know, authors who want to try and dive into that independent publishing um, because things have changed for them, for example.
Yeah, I think um I am very fortunate in that I had a very good relationship with my publisher. My publisher was a small publishing company to begin with. We still have a really good relationship. So I didn't have to fight to get my books back. So I guess, you know, so I think the first thing, of course, is getting your books back. And then after that, don't go into it by yourself. There is so much to know and so much to learn. And if you really believe in your books and believe in your writing, then be willing to throw money into getting the help that you need to get started. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't, a lot of people talk about, oh, I can't wait to have my books back because then I'll be earning all the money myself. But you also have to invest money into yourself.
Right.
You have to think, I have a publicity consultant, and I that I don't use full time, but I'm happy to pay somebody to and say, tell me how to do this because I don't know how, or tell me
Right.
where to go. I can't begin to think I know how to do Amazon ads, or, you just have to, don't be afraid to get help. And that's where joining those organizations is really important, because that is where you find answers to your questions and connections. That's where you find out, how do I do a query? How do I find an agent? How do I even begin self-publishing? Who are the gurus?
Right.
Can I take a class? Workshops. You join these organizations and they offer workshops for free.
They
There's
do.
so many free things out there. So I don't think people have to feel like, oh my gosh, I need, to go out and get a giant loan. You don't have to do that either. But
Right.
you need a tribe, as you said. You do.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, you just have to give yourself have to be patient enough with yourself to realize that there's a lot to learn and you can't know it all. And as you said, it's changing every day. So subscribe
Yeah.
to newsletters from some of the pros. Oh, there's some really good pros out there
Yeah.
who thank goodness keep up with all this stuff, and they share it,
Yes.
because every day I read something and I go, what happened?
Yeah.
there's there is so much happening in this publishing world. It has changed by leaps and bounds. COVID changed everything, and it was
Right.
already changing before COVID. COVID
Right.
just made it fall off a cliff.
Yeah. Exactly. I know. I sort of dipped my toe into the scene about maybe 12 to 15 years ago. And even then, people were still asking for the self-addressed stamped envelope with your submission. Like, wait, what?
Right,
Does anybody do that
right,
anymore? No, no.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, and that's why just keeping up, and and again, trying not to get overwhelmed, because you can't you think you can't keep up, and you can't know everything.
Right.
So you have to you just have to try to, to keep up and stay on top of as much as possible. And then again, those networks that you create because somebody else says, hey, did you read this article? And you say, oh no, I didn't. And then, but I read this one. So you're constantly swapping and exchanging information that's very valuable. So you don't want to feel alone. Having all those connections means that there's other people that are also finding things and are willing to share them. And so,
Yeah.
it makes your job a lot easier to keep up.
Yeah. And it really also helps that this is really the nicest community of professionals that I've ever been involved with. So
I
people love to
agree.
share.
Very gracious, considering you think, I mean, when I first became an author, all I thought about was, it must be really competitive. I have to be a competitor. I have to beat this other person. How many reviews do they have? And that wasn't really what it is at
It's
all.
not, no, it's not a race. I mean, there, occasionally you run into people that are like that, but it's so much few and far between. You know,
I
so
agree. I
yeah,
agree. And the beauty of that is when you run into those people, you know, just like anybody else in life, you can just say, oh, I probably don't really want to be part of their world because I just don't fit. And I'll just go back to my own tribe and my own network and you're not
Yeah.
gonna, again, it's just like with readers, not everyone's going to love you. And
Yep.
we've talked about this before.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, this has been great conversation, Joy. Thank you so much for
Oh,
joining me today.
thank you. It was such a pleasure. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Let's let readers and our viewers know where to find you.
Okay, well, joyribar.com, and I have a contact to email me there. And of course, I have my books are in indie bookstores, a lot of indie bookstores. Um, they're also on the Blackbird Writers page.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah. Awesome. And you're on social media, so people can find you there.
Yes. I'm on Facebook and I do Facebook and Instagram. I'm pretty devoted to Facebook and Instagram. And if you Google Joy Ann Ribar, you're going to find me in either one of those locations. And yeah, come say hi, leave comments. Authors really like conversation.
We
Talk to us.
do. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.